can't put myself or get ahead of myself, because every time I do, that's when I kind of create the expectations and you get on a bit of a mental roller coaster. But I've said this quite a bit, I think, over the last few years, just trying to stay in the moment and take it day by day. So I'm continuing to go forward with that attitude.
I hate that. This sucks. Like, it's so sad. It's so unfair. Like, I feel awful for him. And you can see how much he's struggling with it. You look at him, and I don't mean this as a criticism, but he looks out of shape. He looks like a guy who's not able to work out the way he wants to or live life the way he wants to. And for a guy who's given every ounce of what he has to this organization to be like, I hope I can get back and play a couple more games because I know my time here is up. It's sad. More than us being fans and covering the team, whatever, it is sad for that guy who means so much to this organization. Even if he gets to play a couple games, for it to end this way sucks. It sucks. I feel awful for him. You could see the resignation and the fear and the frustration and everything in his voice and in his face and in his comments. It sucks. I hate it. He deserves better.
I think if Jonathan Toews comes back for any of the final games left this season, if at the very least the final game of the year, the home game against the Flyers to end the season, I think not only is that likely his last game as a Blackhawk, I think that's his last game. I think you look at his body language, you listen to what he's saying, you listen to how he described what he went through, what he has been going through physically and mentally just to play hockey. I don't think it's you look at what he says. He says there's more damage being done than good happening. And to what point does he want to continue to push his body to these limits that he can't handle anymore? And it's not a criticism. It's just a horrible hand that he's been dealt with his personal health. And it just seems like he is kind of coming to this realization that, maybe he's still keeping the door a little bit open that, hey, you know what? Maybe this summer off will do me some good. Maybe there will be another opportunity for me, at least for one more go around. But I think he's come to the realization that his body's not going to let him do that. And it just, he sounds like a guy who knows that it's over. And it's really tough. Like, it was commendable for him to come out and speak for as long as he did with us at the morning skate. But I just kind of found myself taking a second to kind of step back and be like, man, this is like probably one of the last times Jonathan Toews is going to be front facing and this open. Yeah, it's tough. And look, like, hey, maybe he can feel better. Maybe he can go on one more year playing, but also what team is going to invest in him?
And why do that to himself? Like, you could see if it was like you talk about Ray Bourque and Claude Giroux and these guys with like, damn it, I've had this great career, but I've never won it. He's got 3. His legacy is cemented. There is nothing in the odd chance that Jonathan Toews is watching this. Dude, you've got nothing to prove to anybody. You've got the hardware. You've got the rings, both team-wise and personally. You've got the gold medals. You've got the World Junior Championships. You have done everything there is to do in hockey. And, man, like, do what's best for you, and you'll be a Hawk for life, and no one will ever, when in the pantheon of great Blackhawks, he'll be right there with Hull and Makita and Kane and Toews. Those 4 names will be the icons for the next 50 years, 100 years of this team's history. There is nothing more for Jonathan Toews to prove to anyone. And man, I'm thinking back to early this year, like in training camp, people were saying like, yeah, Toews came in like real out of shape and kind of overweight, like his body fat is the highest on a team. We're kind of like, oh, that's strange. But I think we get in this mindset of like, well, he's better now. It's fine now. It's over. Everything he's dealing with is now over. He talked about, I don't want to get out of bed. And in the off season, he's got to consider, how much rest can I do and still be ready for the season? He's literally weighing how many weeks can I give myself of just complete rest and complete relaxation before I'm hurting my chances of being an effective hockey player anymore. Dude, you've done it. You've won. You are the winner, man. Jonathan Toews, you are the cap. When people say the captain, that is there. We're talking about you for the rest of Blackhawks history. Yeah. You've done enough. You have given this city enough. You've given this franchise enough. Think about yourself. Think about your health. Think about the people that love you, which are Blackhawks fans, and of course his family and everything. Dude, you're a legend, and there's nothing more to prove.
It kind of sucks that two of the most important players of the golden era of Blackhawks hockey, two of the greatest players to ever put on a uniform, had to cut their careers, and Toews hasn't done it yet, but it's coming. Had to retire because their body betrayed them, and Jonathan Toews and Marian Hossa. Different ailments, but the same thing. Reading Marian Hossa's book and what he had to go through
awful
just to play a game, and he still, without that, those problems that Hossa was having with the skin problem, I think he'd still be playing now, and he looks like he'd still be productive.
Yeah, effective penalty killer, play 13, 14 minutes a night.
So to have Jonathan Toews and Marian Hossa, who we don't win any cups without,
of course,
both have to call it a career because their bodies, not on their terms. That's the saddest part, is when great players, or any player for that matter, has to give it up. And it's not their call. It's their body saying, we're not doing this anymore. And I think we're at that point. And it's a shame. And, but we want the best for Toews. We want him to just, go take care of yourself. You've done enough, more than enough for all of us. You've given us a lifetime of memories and accomplishments. Now it's time for Jonathan Toews to take care of Jonathan Toews.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's as much as it is a not ideal ending, as it seems like it's kind of already being written. If he were to do it on April 13th and have that be the send off, at least he gets that kind of proper send off, which I know we've talked about it before. Very few of the modern era Blackhawks have been able to do that. Really, the only one I can think of that actually got to have their send off as a Blackhawk was Patrick Sharp, and that was after he went to Dallas and came back. Corey Crawford didn't get that opportunity. Brent Seabrook had his body hand him his retirement papers. Duncan Keith was traded and ended his career with the Oilers. Andrew Shaw had concussions cut his career short. The list goes on and on. Hossa, Patrick Kane was traded. Who knows how his career ends, but it's probably not with the Blackhawks. It sucks. But if Toews is feeling that he can have at least one more NHL game in him, it would be quite the send off for it to be that finale this year.
I do think it's fitting that Jonathan Toews is the last one standing from the dynasty. I think that's fitting, because, Kane was, through the entire period of their careers, ultimately a better player. But when they were both in their prime, Toews was the best. He was the best Hawk. He was all around. He was everything. There were legitimate considerations of, if you were starting a team, who would you take, Jonathan Toews or Sidney Crosby? And NHL GMs, the majority of them chose Toews. That's how good and effective of a player Toews was. And I think we forget, because it's been 8 years since that last Stanley Cup and 8 years since we've been seeing these guys play at their peaks. But there was a time where Jonathan Toews was un-F-withable. That guy was just a hockey god. He did everything well, everything better than everybody else. And yeah, there were guys that had more points, but there was no more complete player in the league than Jonathan Toews.
He sacrificed a lot of points to make sure the other team wasn't getting the points.
Yes.
There was a time where you had a legit argument who was better, Toews or Crosby, or who was better, Toews or Patrice Bergeron?
Yeah.
You know, those are and you would have a valid argument for Jonathan Toews. It's been a while since you could do that, but yeah, I think we took for granted how good he was during the heyday.
2014 Team Canada captain was supposed to be Jonathan Toews. He went to Sidney Crosby and said, "Hey, I think you should have it." So that's where Team Canada was at 2014. So I think that's a big indicator of where he was at his absolute prime.
I'm just, you're thinking about 8 years ago and looking ahead to this and imagining, Marion Host is going to have to retire because of a skin condition, and Brent Seabrook's going to get traded. So is Duncan Keith and Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews. It's just like you couldn't imagine this. You couldn't imagine all of this ending this way. And trading Kane, probably the right thing to do for the organization. Same thing, like Duncan Keith wanted to be closer to his son for his last year. Cool. Like getting rid of that Brent Seabrook contract was necessary. The Crawford thing, I don't know. Would Corey Crawford have kept playing if he was still in Chicago? Maybe. We don't know. I don't know. It's just I feel like this doesn't happen with other teams. You know what I mean? Like the Cubs traded everybody like the same day, Rizzo and Baez and Bryant. That was hard. But like, I don't know, the 05 White Sox just kind of all faded away. They all went their own ways. Yeah. Michael Jordan retired. And
slow decline, yeah. It's like what we told our friends at DNVR, the Avalanche crew there on opening night, before opening night. Enjoy this.
Yep.
Like you guys may win 2, 3, 4 cups here before it's all said and done. Live in the moment and enjoy it, because in a few years you're going to be sitting on this side going, where did it go?
Yeah, remember that. No Righteous Rage says they still remembers Toews' first NHL goal. First goal on his first shift on his first shot, Jonathan Toews.
Yeah. Just like Cole.
And then there was also the Colorado goal that just was like, and the Colorado announcer said it, that is an announce, like, what did they say? You're announcing an arrival of a team, right? Like that goal shows you the next decade of hocky.
It wasn't David Gus.
Something along the lines of like, there's your future, Chicago, or something like that. Yeah, it was pretty
exciting
impressive
time. And hopefully, though, we're going to be seeing some of those moments here in the next couple of seasons of guys, young players, where they make that first play and you're like, yep, there it is.
Yeah, and Jamie brings up a good point. He says it hurts more when you see Boston, LA, and Pittsburgh Stars still going. Yeah, I mean, Bergeron is still not quite the same guy, but still very elite, and that seems to be a guy who after this year is going to go out on his own terms.
Yeah.
Right? He's still at the top of his game. I've done enough. I've given this game enough, and I'm done. Anze Kopitar, obviously Crosby, Malkin still doing it in Pittsburgh. It's tough. It is hard, but look, I wouldn't trade what the Hawks accomplished for what they, that run for the Hawks was something none of us will ever forget. So let's try to think about that, as these careers start to fade here. It's really, really tough.